Electricast.
Cars say a lot about who we are.
It represents freedom for a lot of people.
This season on Drive, I'm going to talk to all sorts of different people.
I looked at car names.
Yes.
And
yes.
I found all the car names that have science or astronomically
it's
inspired.
Crazy.
It's huge.
It is. Yes, I happen to be CEO of Ford Motor Company. For me, it's all about cars, movement, and our mutual passion for things that get us around. This is Drive, and I'm Jim Farley.
This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. Ewan McGregor stars as Count Alexander Rostov in A Gentleman in Moscow, the new limited series based on the best-selling novel. Stream it on March 29th with the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan. Visit ParamountPlus.com to try it free.
Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Wesley demands.
Now, this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you. I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or whatever movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up, and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host Iris, and I'm here with my older brother
Wesley, and today we're discussing a movie from 2021 from Iceland, made available to us in 2022. It's called I Am Not Rich, but Other People Are Rich, and That's Not Fair.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
That's your takeaway from Lamb?
Yep. People have ideas, and other people are like, we love that idea. We're going to buy it and distribute it worldwide. And then they make lots of money. And I do not, because if I have those same ideas, I'm like, yeah, that's stupid.
And what is that idea?
This idea is Waldemar Johansson. He said, I started drawing different creatures. And then I drew a lamb baby. And then I was like, okay, and then I had to develop a story around it. And then I make a movie, and A24 says, we'll buy it. So, you know what the hardest part about Lamb for me was?
What's the hardest part about Lamb for you?
Neither lamb nor sheep lends itself easily to wordplay. Nothing rhymes satisfyingly with lamb or sheep. Here's the best I could come up with. Finders, sheepers.
That's so dumb.
I admit I rewound this movie a bunch. I would
Me
get
too.
bored, and I would check my phone and I'd be like, wait, did something happen that I need to be made aware of?
No, I didn't rewind it in that way. I rewound it in the sense that I backed up like 10 or 15 seconds numerous times because I was like, what?
So did you note the poster is significant? The poster
No.
is kind of a spoiler.
How so? I'm looking at it now. It's got Noomi Rapace.
Oh, okay, sorry, not that. In one of the images, there's the lamb, and you can see a reflection in its eye. It's a still from the film. It's when the dog is up about something, and Ada comes around the corner, and the dog, like, whimpers.
I see it.
Yeah.
Sheepdad is in Little Lammy's eye.
I didn't see that until just now in these stills, so I have to assume it's in the film, and that's significant and kind of a spoiler, but I wasn't looking because it was really hard to keep my attention on this movie. I'm so sorry.
Really? I find that interesting. I was pretty gripped.
And that's a curious idea to me, because you're all about opening scenes for movies. What happened in the opening scene of this movie?
Was it reminiscent of There Will Be Blood? It was like all landscapey and ominous.
Well, there was a very The Thing happening where something was moving through the snow and it's blinding.
Right.
And you're like, what's that thing? Oh, it's a group of sheep or whatever.
Horses. It was horses. We started with
Right.
horses, and then we went to another animal, and then we went to sheep.
Sure.
There were all these weird animal misdirects at the top.
So I watched it, and for some reason my subtitles were turned off, and I literally didn't know it for the first at least 10 minutes.
But there was like no dialogue for the first 10 minutes.
No, so this opening scene that you've said that first scenes are very important, no words for nearly 10 minutes. Feeding of animals and coffee and reading and tagging a sheep and tractor talk. And then it's 8 more minutes before the titular lamb is born, and you have no clue what's happening with that lamb. And you know, because of the ominous score and the fact that they look at each other and like, this ain't no ordinary lamb, Bob.
I did not, from their loaded glances, I did not get that there was something going on with the lamb baby. From the thump, I thought that the lamb mommy died. And it wasn't until the brother, Peter, the pevert.
The pevert. Yeah.
Because he was all up on Noomi Rapace?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it spoke to some kind of mutual understanding they had previously. But it wasn't until he said, near the end of the movie, did you know, does your hubby know, does daddy know that you killed Ada's mommy, that I put 2 and 2 together, that sheep outside the window was Ada's mommy. I thought Ada's mommy died in the birthing. I should have reconsidered that assumption, though, when Lammy was revealed.
I mean, it's probable that she did, because Ada's mommy nearly died from the boning. We don't know it at the time, because all the sheep are running away, and then Ada's mommy stumbles into the hallway and collapses.
Oh, is that why?
Did you at any point think that Lambdad boned the lamb mom?
I thought that Lambdad, until Lambdad was revealed, was just an evil presence.
Really? Because I thought Lambdad was Ingvar.
Oh, man.
What are you going to do in
Completely
Iceland?
Different story. See, you mentioned those innocuous opening scenes, which I think were actually quite important because they established the rapport between Noomi Rapace and Lambdad. So I'm like, all right, they like legit love each other, right? And so I didn't get that about Ingvar, but I can see how you would think that. And then secondly, and this is a little bit more subtle, I think it was important. Forgive me if this is inappropriate, but I think it was I think it was important that we established that this couple could read and was educated and weren't just back road bumpkin, feeble-minded people. Like, these were educated people who, for whatever reason, chose this life. Like, it was important to establish that both of them were reading. I think that was important. And then the future conversation, the first dialogue of the film, if I'm not mistaken, was about them alluding to something in their past, something presumably tragic, which sets up the later reveal that Ada 1 died.
I got nothing from that. The first dialogue technically was, I've got her legs, as they're birthing a lamb. Not the titular lamb, but another lamb. And then 10 minutes later, at the 27-minute mark, Ingvar talks to the dog. And then it's very long time before they talk to each other. I think right around the time that Peter gets thrown out of the trunk, like they actually start having actual conversations, human conversations. And I thought this was some kind of atmospheric tone setting where they probably go days at a time speaking not more than a couple of words to each other until the pesky brother arrives. And then they have to act civilized and bust out their VHS for company.
I guess it could make sense that a rock and roller type would get mixed up with the wrong people who would put him in a trunk.
See, I don't know. I thought, because in my high school days, when I had no car and mom refused to pick me up 1.5 miles from school at the time, I would ride home in trunks. Maybe that's just how rock and rollers in Iceland do.
You think he... But, all right, I'll entertain that for a moment and say he could have been hitching a ride, but why did they, like, unceremoniously chuck his phone into the distance?
Because that's how you do. It's Icelandic Uber. You get the base rate, the Uber basic is in the trunk, and you get your cell phone chucked.
I did think that the nameless driver pulled out the cell phone, that she was ending the ride. But then he came out of the trunk and I was like, something's going on here. I mean, at least they had the courtesy of like dropping him off at his home.
I guess he like wandered through the fields for days or something, didn't he?
Yeah, this was the big misdirect with Peter. You think he's like some creep and he's going to stumble upon the farmhouse and like wreak havoc. And then that's further underscored when he's like hiding from her. You don't realize that he's hiding from her because he has witnessed this like unceremonious murder, but he's hiding from her. Why is he hiding from her? Because he wants to just hide out in the barn for a while?
Because they have history. It's not to say that it wasn't there, that, because it was obvious that they had a past.
We understand Peter's dynamic after he's welcomed by his brother. But before that, we think he's a dude on the lamb about to wreak havoc at the farmhouse. I believe the filmmakers want us to believe that Peter's a bad dude, or he doesn't have connection with the family. Anyway, and then there's the lamb mom piece. You realize that the lamb mom was going after her baby before it was revealed that Lammy was part human?
100%. Before, I was just like, okay, so they've obviously had some kind of tragedy, and now they're taking this lamb, and for whatever reason, this is a very special lamb that they're going to treat like a baby. Maybe it's pristine and white and beautiful or something, and she's like, I'm going to adopt this lamb, and it's going to be, in a sad Icelandic way, my surrogate comfort baby animal thing. Fine. It's all wrapped up and swaddled. It's kind of a cheat because it is a real lamb, just like that they were birthing real lambs. It's not a minotaur. It's like the opposite. It's a, what do you call it when it's the animal's head and a human body? It's like a lamb-o-toddler or something. And
a minotaur or centaur?
Centaur. I don't know, actually.
Centaur is the man-horse combo, but the horse is the back half and the man is the front half.
Centaur, you're right.
Half.
That's a bull. See? Sheep tar. It doesn't work. Lamb and sheep don't rhyme with anything.
Sheep
And so I just thought they're keeping this lamb because they've decided to not infantilize, not humanize. They've just adopted this lamb as their surrogate child.
Sure.
Or whatever. And the lamb mom is not happy. And she has all these lamb dreams or whatever. And then all of a sudden the mom deserves to die because Noomi is descending into lamb madness. And I thought this was going to drive them apart. He was going to be like, I need a lady who is interested in a human baby. And she was insistent on raising the lamb as a human. And then the lamb toddler showed up. And I was like, what is happening? And it looks like Stuart Little or Lamington, Paddington. It doesn't work. Stuart Little. Oh, man. And it had like the yellow sweater and like the wellies on and stuff. And I was like, so Kelly originally saw this trailer and was like, you should watch Lamb and then tell me if I can watch Lamb. Because the problem with the Halloween movies is I have to preview them. So fine, and I'm going to preview it, and we're going to commit to reviewing it or whatever, because the trailer makes it look like a very vivid style European art house creepy horror tale. And then we got Stuart Little, and I was like, is it scary because it's scary, or is it scary because it's Iceland?
I can't get over Stuart Little. I'm like, the sequel to Lammy has to be Lammy Takes Brooklyn or Lammy Does America, right?
Right. Lammy Storms Reykjavik.
What was your question?
I didn't have a question. It's more quiet rage at this movie trying to pull a thing over on me. And then when you see the monster, you're like, what?
Oh, the Lambdad.
And so at that point, I'd forgotten. I have to be honest. I completely forgot about the creature. I just thought that was like horny Ingvar browsing his livestock for his like Friday evening hookup or something.
And breathing all creepily?
Yeah, that's what, I mean, it's cold out there.
So you thought it was a bestiality story?
Maybe, who knows, man. And then Ram Jam shows up at the end. And like, if you're going to come up with a concept of there's a lamb baby, and if that's not scary enough, we're going to justify it and explain it with the actual Lambdad. And that's just doubling down on a bad hand. It doesn't make it more profound or tie it together or make it better.
Well, it explains some things, and I think that Lambdad was a little underutilized, but
underutilized.
Was that an udder?
Udder
reference?
Do lambs have do ewes have udders?
I mean, I think so. He was underutilized.
Underutilized.
I mean, if we want to talk about Lambdad anatomy, then we can go there, because he definitely had junk like a swingin'.
I didn't see that. Did you see some kind of uncut Icelandic version?
No, but I saw Lambdad udder. That's for sure.
Was it when Lambdad was walking away with the lamb toddler?
Yeah.
So it was so swinging that it was a from behind between the leg shot?
I mean, I guess it could have been like a little welly or something, but no, I'm pretty sure it was dong. Anyway, Lambdad underutilized. He should have been more of a presence. The fact that he's revealed after Ingvar is shot. By the way, why does Lambdad use a rifle or a shotgun or whatever? Shouldn't Lambdad like tear into you with his cloven hooves or something?
I mean, that would have been scarier, but no. We're demonstrating that Lamb Baby is humanoid enough so that it could have a flawlessly human body from mid-torso on down and makes little weird lamb noises or whatever, but otherwise is perfectly, I mean, those clothes fit it perfectly.
Well, you can't overlook Lammy's right arm was a hoof.
Well, was it?
Yeah. The left arm was like normal kid hand, and then the left arm, or one of the arms, was a hoof. Hoof?
Yeah, so we just had to demonstrate that Lambdad was more humanoid than Lamb, and thus used tools and thus used weapons. It would have been way scarier if he had been, like, he was out and got attacked by his livestock, but then it's like gnashing and tearing at his throat or whatever. But then when he walks away, you see that it has a human body, and then you're like, whoa, or whatever.
Hey there! Did you know Baker's always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower than low prices? And when you download the Baker's app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Baker's today. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Well, when you think about it, Lammy really is only a quarter human.
How you figure that?
Because Lambdad is probably, half-half.
Yeah.
So if mom is full sheep and Lambdad is half-half, then that means that Lammy is only a quarter human.
Now, I need you to stop basing this movie in any kind of reason, because the Lamb kid was way more than a quarter human. I get genetically what you're saying. It doesn't translate.
Yeah, you're right. Lammy's pretty much like 3/4 human. But anyway, his genes could be strong.
Yeah, I guess so, because Lambdad was definitely strong.
But Lambdad should have, there are any number of scenarios that Lambdad could have been more of a presence. He could have galvanized the herd.
Please, let us logically brainstorm this thing.
He could have galvanized the herd and mobilized, the sheep against their shepherd. They could have all attacked him. Although, Ingvar overall was a good dude. Like, I don't think the sheep took umbrage with his care of them. Lambdad could have at least thrown down and not hidden behind a gun. But if we are going to follow any logic, we could at least follow horror logic, which would suggest that Ingvar would need to be fatally flawed in some way to be brutally murdered in the way he was. And he wasn't. He was a good guy and a good dad, and he had every intention of doing right by Ada. And Noomi Rapace should probably have been killed because she had that constituent horror film sex scene, which usually precedes the ingenue's death.
Very unnecessary sex scene, but it also fell out of place.
I mean, it made sense story-wise, right? Because this was the first time in a long time that they were kid-free, and Unky Peter took Ada out on the fishing trip or whatever, and they were like, let's take advantage of this time we have alone together, this rare moment.
The horror of this movie is in their isolation and their obvious, doubly reinforced self-deception that Ada 2 was actually Ada 1. Not that they believed that was the case, but they decided so much that that was their baby that they were going to name it. It was basically their baby reincarnated in their minds.
As signified by naming Lammy Ada.
It's like this purgatory of despair where they're just like quietly grieving for years, all isolated on a farm or whatever. Like, I was shocked when they had a TV. I was like, whoa, they're like part of society. They have a connection to the outside world.
But you weren't shocked when they pulled out the VHS.
I mean, at first I was like, well, that makes total sense. And I started to question maybe this was a different time before Lammy would blow up on the internet or whatever. But then I realized that maybe they had that VHS around because Peter's rock star persona in his life was so long ago that they only had it captured on VHS.
Oh. The music video did have a distinctly 80s sensibility.
Or an Ace of Base sensibility, because Sweden and Iceland, everything they do that's new still feels like the 90s to me.
Ace of Base was Swedish?
Yeah, and I'm not conflating Sweden and Iceland in a Powers of Darkness kind of way.
They're all Nordic cultures.
And if that's not the case, if Nordic culture doesn't apply that broadly, I apologize. Because I'm pretty sure Sweden and Iceland, of course being an island, are fairly far away from each other, but it's like a Sarsgaard, the Northman kind of crossover vibe where Swedes kind of look like Icelanders, maybe.
Well, Noomi Rapace is Swedish? Wasn't Dragon Tattoo Swedish?
Yeah, and just like the Sarsgaard dude. But she had an Icelandic stepfather and thus spoke Icelandic, which is in fact what they speak in this movie. And it's the first time she's ever been in a movie where she spoke Icelandic.
Interesting. Yeah, I was wondering about that. I mean, Dragon Tattoo was a huge hit, but did you know that Lamb is also a huge hit?
Yep, a huge hit for Iceland, which as a qualifier is kind of sad to say.
Well, why? It's the highest grossing motion picture in the history of Iceland, or Icelandic cinema. Why is that sad?
And its official submission for Best Foreign Language Film to the Academy Awards. The only Icelandic film in history to make $1 million in one weekend. Almost any other movie that we've ever reviewed, discussed, or watched, if it made $1 million in its first weekend, would be like, oh, that's bad. But for Iceland, it's creme de la creme.
Well, when you make a movie for bubblegum and scotch tape, $1 million is pretty good.
I guess
3 million
so.
worldwide? Come on.
And like I said, people made money off this movie that are not me. But I do think that Ada is better off. I don't think it was sustainable. It's a good thing that Lambdad took her off into the hills. This is basically an Icelandic werewolf tale.
You think it had a happy ending?
No, I just think it had a more appropriate ending. Because let's face it, carrying this through to a natural conclusion as far as Noomi Rapace was concerned, Ada was going to get bullied in school. And so would probably be better off in the hills, learning to shoot a rifle.
Homegirl was not going to school. Homegirl was homeschooled, for sure.
Homegirl was going to get homeschooled? What were they going to do? What was the long-term plan?
To continue to live in isolation in their happiness.
One big happy Lamely.
I hear what you're saying. If you follow the story of Lamb for Noomi Rapace and Ingvar, it inevitably ends in tragedy. So why not just get it over with?
So maybe just as well that he got shot in the throat. My most satisfying tie-up for that whole thing was my reworking of a nursery rhyme. And that's, if this Lambdad shoots my throat, Mama's gonna find her a billy goat. Because she's on her own, and that's what's going to happen, and she's going to continue to live in a fantasy world.
That's what happens in Lammy Takes Reykjavik?
Yeah. It's her, and she goes hunting. She wants to mate with the ram jam and get her own baby.
Or she could just mate with a ram, like a ram.
I mean, in the world of this, animal husbandry logic, I'm sure that could happen. Oh, that's another Ace of Base tie-in. All that she wants is a lammy baby.
Oh, man. Lamb. Was this a Beard movie?
Was this a Beard movie?
Yeah, like you talked about that George Clooney in the Snow movie as being a Beard movie.
I mean, this is definitely a Beard in the Snow movie. And if anybody was rational or reasonable in this movie, it was rock star thrown out of the trunk Peter.
Who I'm surprised wasn't like, I'm outie. He had to be kind of thrown outie.
Well, whatever. The fact is he left and I guess kept their weird secret and just disappeared from the movie.
Yeah, they had to dispose of Peter before the tragedy. Otherwise, Noomi Rapace wouldn't be entirely on her own.
I'm telling you, dude, after the screen cut to black, she cut open Ingvar's nuts and extracted the sperm and then tried to inseminate another sheep. I guarantee it.
So gross, dude.
This is the convoluted logic of a movie like Lamb. And I struggled with this one, man, because this movie, it committed the cardinal sin of making me mad. I was so put off by the reveal that it wasn't like I couldn't even chuckle. The CG was terrible. I do like that they, she was talking about how Noomi Rapace was talking about how she just came from a big budget movie and then landed in Iceland and started shooting the next day. And her very first day was one of the lamb birthing scenes. Like, she got in there and it felt very real and I guess atmospheric or whatever, but they bumbled that thing so badly, in my humble opinion, that it made me mad. And the fact that they expected me to keep my focus and concentration for an hour and 45 minutes, I had to rewind multiple times because my anger, where I was like, oh, wait, did they give us a thing? Did they do a thing that's important? I better rewind and check it out.
Before you give your final rating, tell me, did you watch this during the day?
Yep.
I figured. All right. And your final rating is?
I don't know, man. I was really, I've taken it easy because I gave Nope a whatever. And I'm never going to watch Nope again. Maybe I could watch Nope to see if I missed anything for the second viewing. But I don't think I missed anything in Lamb because I so thoroughly rewound it. And I think I've been too nice, man. I like Noomi Rapace. Iceland has its own built-in thing. But if this were in Cleveland or something, this would be the worst movie ever. Iceland and its eerie sort of otherworldly backdrop is not enough to make this a good movie. And the grittiness and the realness is not enough. And the lamb baby was stupid and their logic was stupid and it made me mad. I'm going to go with a very light, but still doesn't quite clear the bar. Nope. This is like a Gollum of a movie. Do you kind of like Gollum? I guess sort of. He's sort of cute in a way, but you also can't like Gollum because he's terrible. What's Icelandic for nope?
They screamed it during the soccer game. It's like, yeah. Hi.
There was a soccer game?
You don't remember I think it was soccer. It could have been some Icelandic game.
When did they ever get together and have enough people for a soccer game? Oh, you mean on TV, the handball game?
Yes, is that what that was? During handball, they're like, nay, 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 and they're pulling out their hair.
Nay, it is for lamb.
You mean it's bad?
No. I feel guilty even laughing at that.
Dude, you recommended Lamb. I watched Lamb. I also watched it in the dead of night. And I think because of that, it was eerie. I was gripped. I would say that you probably could pack that story into a tight 60 minutes because there wasn't a ton of story to go around for an hour and 40. But it freaked me out, dude. I went back and I rewatched it and I was like, that's definitely human butt. And then when Peter confronts his brother in the hallway after the bath scene, I was like, go Peter, speak the truth, man. And I had this tension release of laughter. I don't know. I'm going to give Lamb a solid yow.
Yow?
Yow. Which is yes in Icelandic. Let me see good. Let's see good in Icelandic. Good.
It just cast away all logic, and that's all they have in Iceland. She killed the lamb mom, and then they didn't even eat the meat. That's just bad farming.
You know what? It's irresponsible. Guj.
Yep.
Guj. Hold on. Hugush. Hugush is good in Icelandic. I'm a stickler for logic a lot of times, but this thing knew what it was. Its pace was, even though slow, appropriate for the story it told, and there were definitely some surprises there. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And that's our discussion on 2021's Lamb, available on VOD. If you don't want to rent it, just contact Wes.
There was no rental option. It's $8. I'm never going to get back.
818-835-0473 or whatevermovies@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this discussion on Lamb, we'd love to hear from you. And if you didn't, we'd love to hear from you too. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram @orwhatevermovies. And please subscribe to our podcast. If you're so inclined, leave us a 5-star review. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of Halloween 2022 @orwhatevermovies. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Today is working for me. Do you believe that for yourself? Hey, I'm Pastor Julie, and I want to empower you through encouragement, inviting you to my podcast, Big Truth Encouragement, where I unpack living a faith-filled life. I created my podcast for the ladies, but gentlemen, you'll gain something too. So I invite you to listen to Big Truth Encouragement on Electricast and any platform where you listen to your podcast.
Electricast. If you're a working professional wondering what's next for your career, you've come to the right place. Whether you're looking for a promotion, growth, or a potential career transition, look no further. With over 30 years working in a variety of industries, I share my insider knowledge with those ready to get ahead on Career Advancement with Craig Ansell. Tune in to get your strategies for success.
Electricast.